I get a lot of questions on which tech cards you should play in your branded build come Cyberstorm Access. Well, today I'm gonna try to answer just that. If you want 5% off any single or sealed product, head over to tier0games.com and use code GALZO5 at checkout. So I collected a few questions from the comment section, and maybe I'll try to do these more often because these seem actually like fun and worth it for you guys. But before we begin, make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel. Today, I'm going to be trying to answer your tech questions and try to make you understand what you should play and maybe what you probably shouldn't. The first question is from G1, who asks, "Hi, is it a good idea to buy a Nadir Servant playset?" Well, we talked about Nadir Servant a lot in one of my recent videos, and I think that Nadir Servant come the upcoming format is actually probably going to be a better option than Crossout Designator. I think when you're considering what to do when you get ashed, you need to ask yourself, do I want to immediately block that with something like Crossout Designator that sometimes could not be as useful against other things, or do I want to play Nadir Servant that can provide me with recovery and value? I think that right now people are already catching up to Nadir because it was played during the end of the last format, but honestly, I would say yes, probably this is a really good time to get your copies of Nadir Servant because in my opinion, it's better than Crossout Designator. That guy DZZ asks, how come no Dragoon? Will it not be good post Syac? Well, I think this question has a couple of answers, but I'll try to answer it as short as possible. I think when we're looking at the last format, we had trap decks like Trap Tricks and Labyrinth, and of course we had the best deck in the format, which was Kashira. Also, we had a deck like Runic that was an engine in a lot of other decks, that all of these together used targeting to out your monsters and negate your effects. Kashira targets, Runic of course targets, and it needs to target in order to play, and of course trap decks usually destroy and target. So Dragoon was a really good option, being able to negate, but not only that, just put a really strong body on the board that is untargetable and indestructible. Now, we're looking at decks like Pearly, Super Heavy Samurai, Bestial Control, and maybe even Kashira as well, and you need to ask yourself if there is room for Dragoon in your deck. Now, you have a lot more tools at your disposal, like Quem, Albion, the new dragon, and I think that Dragoon could be viable in certain builds, but it really kind of depends on a ban list and which other decks are in the format. Chris asks, now that Quem and Lulu can special summon Cartesia, we don't need to play Fusion Deployment anymore, right? Wrong. I think that you should definitely play Fusion Deployment, and you should also probably play another copy of Cartesia. I think that Cartesia, even Fusion Deployment for Albaz, is a really strong option to start off your combo because the deck has very limited resources when it comes to summoning. You have your normal summon, then you probably have Branded Opening, but allowing you to get to Cartesia right off the bat, protecting you from hand traps like Effect Veiler, which are probably going to be super prominent in this format, I think allows you to extend your plays even further. Setting up Cartesia on the board allows you to not only play when you get ashed with Branded Fusion by fusing from your hand, but also protect your board. So I think you definitely do need to play Fusion Deployment. Kelvin asks, why no Branded Etude? So Etude of the Branded, if you don't know, is a quick synchro summoning continuous trap card that requires a dragon monster, but also is a floodgate that banishes all fusion, synchro, link, and ritual materials from your opponent's board if they go to the graveyard. So essentially it's a floodgate, but it's also a quick synchro. I'm gonna be trying to be short on the answer of why you should play Branded Etude, or rather when you should play Branded Etude. You need to understand that the best synchros in the game right now are level 10s. If you want to synchro using Branded Etude on your opponent's turn, you need Cartesia or Ecclesia, or of course Quem, which is a tuner who's level 4, and then you need a level 6 Bestial. So that means if we're currently running only one Saronir, it means that you only actually have one target in your deck. If you want to increase the capacity in which you synchro summon using Etude of the Branded, you need more Bestials. And if you need more Bestials, they need to be good against other things and not just as fusion material, so you don't just brick on them. So ask yourself, how many Bestials am I playing in my deck and why? And then you can decide, do I have enough to justify having Branded Etude? Of course, you can have Lubellion on the field and just use it as a floodgate, but if you look at the combos in my previous videos, you'll probably see that Lubellion doesn't really stay on the field and actually fuses away with Cartesia to get that advantage off of Branded Lost. If you want to build a deck that is catered to running Etude of the Branded, you need more Bestials, and you need to see that they actually matter. Alon Silver asks, if I don't want a gimmick lock or if it gets banned, what would you play instead? Do you still play the new Albion? So I'll address this in two parts. First things first, if Gimmick Puppet Nightmare or Expulsion get locked, there are obviously other choices. You have Edo, the Supreme Magical Force, which is probably the most ideal target because it's the most consistent to get to, since you can send it to the graveyard with Guacamole Dragon. Then of course you have the Old Faithful in Ra's Disciple, and also a rather new tech in DD Orthros, which does exactly what Gimmick Puppet Nightmare does. It locks on summon, but it only locks on fiends, and because it's a level 4, it's a little bit harder to get to. The second part of the question is, do you play the new Albion? So Albion, the Sanctifire Dragon, cannot be targeted, it cannot be super polyed because it cannot be used as fusion material, but moreover, it has a quick effect where it can summon 2 monsters out of any graveyard, 1 to each field. So essentially, not only you can lock people with this, of course, but it creates a really strong interruption during your opponent's turn. Take away their combo piece from the graveyard as an interruption, because it can quick effect remove a card from the graveyard essentially. So I think Albion is an extremely strong tool. The fact that it can summon, also fusion monsters means that you can use Mirror Jade, fuse it away with Cartesia, summon it again with Albion to gain that additional effect. Furthermore, you can use Quem to summon it again, so you can essentially do 3 or 4 Mirror Jades if you have the right setup. I think you definitely play the new Albion regardless of Gimmick Puppet. And this is the last thing I want to talk about, and I really like this comment from The Power of the Weed. For those that are curious, Santa Claus is played because it's a light, synergizes with the deck, it's a level 6, so you can out Ibli by tributing her. 3, it's not a level 7, so Kashira can't exceed with it. And 4, it's low on attack, so it can, kaiju over things like Testudo, Ered, Newman. However, I think you shouldn't play Santa Claus at all, and I'll explain why. All of these reasons are valid and true. Santa Claus has a lot of things going for it, but it has 2 things that don't synergize with Branded specifically. It has to be summoned in defense position, it has 2500 defense, which means that only 2 monsters in your extra deck, Mirror Jade and Albion most of the time, can actually attack over it, while other kaijus have less attack like Gamma Seal that only has 22, you can just run over it with any extra deck monster or even a Bestial. The other thing is that you need to summon it in defense, and because you summon it to defense, cards like Queritus don't actually affect its stats because you still need to get through it. And of course, if it stays on the field until the end phase, your opponent draws a card, so you have to spend an interruption on it. My call is to play kaijus that summon themselves in attack position, use Queritus to zero them out, and then just go for game with additional damage. I think all of these points by Power of the Weed are actually valid, but consider that if you want to play Santa Claus. So I really hope this video helped you guys gather your minds a little bit and understand what to play and what not to play, and if you do, why. During the next format, Cyberstorm Access, leave your comments and questions down below. If you enjoyed this video and want me to do more, I'll definitely grab those questions and make another video like this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, we're on the way to 10K, and of course, lastly, check out my new sponsor, SleeveChief.de, that recently dropped their branded accessory pack over on their website. Links are all below in the description, and use code GALZO5 to get 5% off and support the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.